Hello and welcome to orientation here at JP Morgan Chase and Company. My name is Bailey Ralph, and I'm going to be sharing with you a little bit about who we are as an organization, a little bit about our history, how we came about. But most importantly, today we are going to be focusing on one of our most important values here, which is the value of goodness. So that is weaved through the way that we do business internally and externally here at JP Morgan Chase and Co. And so it's going to be my job to help you understand what that looks like in the workplace and how you play a part in that value. So let's get started. So a little bit about our history. We were founded by a man named John Piermont Morgan, who was born in the early 1800s to a wealthy and very established family in Connecticut. He had a long line of wealthy and very successful businessmen in his family. He was related to the founder of Yale University, as well as the founder of Aetna Health Insurance, which are both two very well-known organizations in America today. So he had roots that really propelled him to being a successful businessman. But after high school, John Piermont Morgan ended up studying in Europe. And he eventually came home back to the States and moved to New York, where he began his career in finance. And something that a lot of people don't know about him is that his finance career really started by investing in the railroad industry. In the early 19th century, the railroad industry was booming, it was growing, and JP Morgan came alongside failing railroad companies and helped them in their financial despair. So as a result of that, he ended up acquiring many large accounts and many amounts of stock in these companies. So he eventually ended up owning and thus controlling it's estimated about 1/6 of the American railroad companies during this time. So he was also known for using his influence to help stabilize the American economy multiple times, actually. And we will talk about the details of that in a little bit. But he was really a man who used his wealth for good. He loaned the federal government money when they needed it, and he really sought to be a man of goodness. So when he passed away in 1913, J.P. Morgan Chase and Co. Became what it is known as today, as they merged with a variety of financial institutions, including Chase, which is what we know now as JP Morgan Chase and Company. So we are one of the oldest financial institutions in America because of those roots dating back to the early 1900s. So I want to talk a little bit about what goodness is in general, not necessarily what it looks like in the workplace specifically, but what it looks like to be a person of goodness, right? Because that is where it starts. So the Cambridge Dictionary actually defines goodness as the personal quality of being morally good, the quality of being morally right and admirable. And so one of the things that's a little bit tough about this is it's hard to define what goodness is because of what we call cultural relativism. And cultural relativism teaches that cultures define what is morally right or wrong based on their culture rather than a universal set of beliefs or truths. So what might be acceptable in one culture is not necessarily acceptable in another culture. We see this with women often in different cultures. Some are allowed to wear their hair down, some are not. And that's just one example. But for Christians, we know that the Bible is the standard of goodness. What God's word says is what we live up to. And I love this word. Goodness in the Greek actually meant an uprightness of heart and of life. So it's someone who really strives to be good, someone who prioritizes goodness as a godly attribute. And we see this as well in 2 Peter 1:5-7, it states, "For this very reason, make every effort to add to your faith goodness, and to goodness knowledge, and to knowledge self-control, and to self-control perseverance, and to perseverance godliness, and to godliness mutual affection, and to mutual affection love." So goodness is really the very nature of the character of God, and someone who is seeking to live a life of uprightness of heart. This means to live with integrity and honesty and a regard for moral principles in general. So, um, that is kind of what we look to here at JP Morgan Chase and Co. as the plumb line for goodness. We seek to line up with what the Word of God says goodness is, which is an uprightness of heart and life. So, a few ways that that can be seen in the workplace in general is, like I said, to live with integrity and honesty and a regard for moral principles. And so our values here reflect those moral principles. One of the ways that this can be seen is through transparency and honorable leadership. So here at JP Morgan Chase and Co., we believe that that really starts at the top. So all of our top level leaders are people who are living a good and morally right lives, and that spills into their actions throughout the organization. So a little bit about how goodness plays into JP Morgan Chase and Co. We do this internally and externally. So I want to talk first about internally. What does this look like to be an organization full of goodness internally? It starts with us. It starts with every single one of us. It starts with the culture that we have created. And here at JP Morgan Chase and Co., one of our core values is a commitment to integrity, fairness, and responsibility. It really starts with that, a commitment to integrity, fairness, and responsibility. So everything we do stems from that core value, which ultimately goes back to the value of goodness. We want to be people of integrity, people of fairness, and people of responsibility internally. We value our people and we are committed to them. And one of the ways this can be seen is through the way that we are inclusive of people with disabilities. So we actually here at JP Morgan Chase and Co. were rated 100% on the Disability Equality Index, which is a comprehensive benchmark that measures organizations' inclusivity of disabilities. So we really work very, very hard here to do what we can to make sure that people are not discounted or counted out because of their abilities. We strive to play fair and to be responsible and to be people of integrity in our internal employment culture. So a few ways that this can be seen externally, really it starts with the history of JP Morgan. He was a man that had goodness in his heart from the beginning. He was a man that used his wealth for goodness, and because of that, those values were instilled into the very culture of what we now know today as JP Morgan Chase and Company. Even before it had a name on it, JP Morgan was a man of integrity and honesty and goodness, and thus his business dealings were marked by the same. During the Great Recession, he was very well known for being involved in one of the most stressful times in American history. In 2008, JP Morgan Chase and Company was recognized globally for the way that they handled business dealings during this stressful time. Many financial institutions were failing and falling under the weight of the collapsing American economy, and they acted quickly. Instead of cutting corners, JP Morgan Chase and Company acted with goodness. And it was actually stated by the New York Times that they were one of the banks that navigated this stressful time in American history the best. And they did that through ethical acts. Financially, they were one of the first to repay their loans. They were honest with their stockholders, they were honest with their customers, and they really focused during this crisis um, to build trust in the financial sector again. So we're really proud of that history that we have here, um, almost 20 years ago now. So we're very, very proud of that. And it continues to be seen today in the way that we do business. We consider ourselves to be very financially transparent. It's another value of ours, and that plays into goodness. So, that was actually seen in 2022. We received 9 excellence recognitions from the Coalition Greenwich, which is an organization that evaluates yearly financial institutions for their excellence across many different benchmarks in the financial sector. So we're really, really proud of those recognitions, and we hope to continue to receive them. And another thing that I wanted to speak to, because a lot of people enjoy hearing about the ways that the organization they're involved with is acting within their communities and states and nation and even the world. So corporate social responsibility is one of the biggest ways that we here at JP Morgan Chase & Co. Exhibit the value of goodness, and that touches a lot of different spheres. And it starts ultimately with that core value that I shared in an earlier slide about fairness. So we want to share with you a couple ways that we do that. So one of the ways that we do that is through, sorry, let me make sure I'm on the right slide. Yeah. So one of the ways that we do that here is through a fight for racial equity. So we have invested $30 billion in this program to invest in racial equity. And I wanted to share the exact wording with you about what this program really means. So we are committed to helping close the racial wealth gap and driving economic inclusion by providing more opportunities for homeownership, increasing access to affordable housing, growing small businesses, and bolstering financial health for Black, Hispanic, and Latino communities across the nation. So we are highly invested in this work. As you know, $30 billion is a lot of money and for any organization. And we want to help people own their homes. We want people to have access to housing that is affordable. If someone has a skill and they want to start a small business, we want to be able to be a part of that for these minority communities. So that is one way that we are exhibiting goodness through our corporate social responsibility programs. And another one that extends even further is our work in policy advocacy. So we are working to advance opportunities for people through evidence-based solutions. So we're investing in research on a lot of hot topic American issues, some of which are hiring rules, Pell Grant restoration, fair chance / second chance hiring, as well as promoting entrepreneurship nationally. And I love this quote here by one of our teammates. It says, "We must change the way we do business and keep investing in the people and places that have not benefited from growth." I am optimistic that when we work together to fight racial inequality and rebuild our economy, all people will benefit. And that is our heart here at JP Morgan Chase & Co. is that we want to invest in people. We want to invest in people and places that need growth. We believe that is where goodness stems from. And I want to go back here just for a moment. I mentioned our financial transparency, and this is another really important way internally and externally that we are working to exhibit goodness in our organization. So with that, another one of our core values is that we demand financial rigor and risk discipline. We will always maintain a fortress balance sheet. So we take pride, like I said earlier, and it's been recognized, globally, that we want to live honorably and with integrity in our finances. So these are some of the ways here. I'm not going to read all of them, but we share consistent and comprehensive information with anyone who needs it: customers, employees, any stockholder and stakeholder that's interested in this. We have real and fact based information. We seek to be people that anticipate financial problems and be prepared with solutions, not just bring up problems. And we want to do this because we value people. Like I said, at the end of the day, living with goodness means that you value people as humans and individuals, and we want to be a part of providing solutions and building trust throughout the financial sector. And that is something that is a fight for sure. But we believe that the way that we can do that is to act with transparency through our finances. So, here in orientation, as this is, your first step here, we focus here on this value of goodness because we believe, like I mentioned earlier, that it starts with us. If we want to be an organization known globally for the way that we act with goodness, it starts with us. It starts with the team that is making the work happen. And that starts at our CEO down to our department heads, to me, to you. And so I want to share 4 of our business principles with you that really communicate how goodness starts with our team. So, number 1, we build teamwork, loyalty, and morale. We are people that encourage each other. We are people that collaborate, and we are people that stick together. We are not out trying to tear each other down or move on top of each other for the better of one. We are working for the best outcome for everyone. So that is really important to us here. Everything we do is based around the team. So number 2, we maintain an open entrepreneurial mediocrity for all. This is another big one. We want people to succeed. And in order to do that, we leave that door open. If someone wants to grow, we want to provide the opportunity for them to do so. Number 3, we communicate honestly, clearly, and consistently. Here at JP Morgan Chase & Co., we communicate all the time. And this is a huge reason why our teams are successful. They communicate honestly, clearly, and consistently. If someone has an issue, it is dealt with immediately. It is not pushed under the rug. It is not gossiped about. And we really, really hang our hats here on this. So please know, as a new team member, we value your honesty and we value your clear and consistent communication. So please know that you can speak freely. If you see something or have an issue, please be willing to speak to the right person about it. Number 4, we strive to be good leaders. Ultimately, it all comes down to this. So all 3 of those things is what make a good leader. And we believe that our teams are successful because of the leaders that we have in place. And I don't want any of you here in orientation to think that being a good leader means that you're in a position, because it doesn't. Being a good leader means that you are acting with goodness and integrity and discipline, regardless of where you sit on the organizational chart. So I just want to encourage all of you, be a good leader where you are now, and it will prepare you for your growth in our organization. I love this quote here that says, teams succeed because they are disciplined, work well together, execute consistently, and have a passion to win. And ultimately, that is what we want here at JP Morgan Chase & Company, is that we are disciplined, we work well together, we execute consistently, and we have a passion to win. And we hope that you are choosing to be a part of our organization because you have a passion for those things as well. So lastly, I just want to leave you with this question. How can you strive to act with goodness in your role? All the things that we've talked about, whether you are a teller in a bank, whether you are a janitor, whether you are working directly with our customers, whatever you're doing here at JP Morgan Chase & Company, there's an opportunity for you to be committed to acting with goodness. And I want to encourage you to look for those opportunities. It is important. We are a company full of individuals and sinful people, which means we do mess up. And ethical missteps have happened in our organization in the past, but we really strive to learn from those mistakes and continue to act with goodness and integrity and excellence across the board. So if you see something that you think we could be doing better in the way that we honor our employees and our customers and our stakeholders and our stockholders, please bring that to your leadership. We would love to hear what you're seeing with fresh eyes. And like I said, I want to encourage you to go back and really read through the values that I presented today that stem back to that ultimate core value that we have here of goodness. So thank you so much for your time. If you have any questions, my door is always open. Let me know and I would be happy to help you. Glad you're on the team.